Hi, I'm Chelsea, and today I'm going to teach you how to edit landscape pictures. I'm going to be editing this picture, and I provided a link down below in the description so you can follow along. I'm going to be bringing out the clouds using the gradient filter and a few other techniques, and just overall making the photo pop. So let's get started. First thing that we're going to do is level your picture. You probably hear Tony complain all the time about horizons that aren't level. And I already started doing that, but what I did was looked for the horizon, which would be the water line right here, and then I try to get it straight with the grid lines. Now that's one way to do it. You can also select this crop tool here and use angle, select a spot on the horizon, and drag it. And that's usually can be a little bit more accurate. The next thing I want to do is just overall process the picture. So let's go to temp and just warm it up a little bit. I'm actually going to bring up the exposure just a tad. The contrast, it depends on your photo if you're not working along with me, but I'll bring this up just a little bit. I'll drop the highlights, and I'm going to raise the shadows. Now for the whites, you want to press Alt and just make sure that there's a little tiny bit of a white point in your photo. And then the same thing with your black slider. Press Alt and drag down until you get just a few speckles of black. I like to bring my clarity up just a little bit. And if you want to be more precise, you can hover your cursor over the slider and then use your arrow tools. Here it's bringing it up in increments of 5. I'll bring up my vibrance a little bit and my saturation. And then I'm going to my tone curve, and I'm just going to bump it up at the middle a little bit. Bringing my blacks up just a tad because I noticed I was losing details here. And my photo's already sharpened a bit, but I'll bring it up just a little bit more. And remove the chromatic aberration. That always helps too. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is bring out the clouds. So I'll select my gradient filter tool and start at the top and bring it down to about the top of these mountains here. And then I'll bring down my exposure a little bit, drop my highlights. You can see that brings out more details in the clouds. And you can even drop your shadows a little bit just to give them more definition. Up your clarity to about 30 here. And I'm bringing up my saturation a bit too. And when you're done, you can click on the graduated filter tool again, and it disappears. The next thing that I'm going to do is bring out some of the colors. So we'll go into my greens, and I'm going to raise the luminance a bit. So if I raise it all the way, you can see what it's doing, or if I lower it. But I'll raise it to about 20. I'll leave my saturation since I already bumped up my overall saturation. I don't want to overdo it. And I like to go into all of the colors and see where they are in my pictures and then see how I can adjust them. So for example, I'll go into the oranges and I'll slide up the luminance and show you where the oranges are. And I like the idea of those popping a bit. So I'll bring those up to about 30, and I'm going to bring up the saturation to about 30 as well. And the hue, I'm just going to make it a bit more red just to add some more colors to the photo. I'm going to bring up the yellow's luminance just a bit and saturation. And then for the blues, I'll drop the luminance and you can see that it brings out the clouds even more. I don't want to do it too much because I'll zoom in. I'll show you why. If you drop the luminance too much, you have a white sky in the background and then some things in the foreground, you can see that you get like kind of ghosting around them or just a brightness around them that's unnatural. Haloing, that's the word that I'm looking for. So I don't want to overdo it. I'll bring up the saturation a little bit too. If I press the backslash tool under backspace, you can see the before and after of the picture. And it's already brighter and looking better. So I'm going to go back to my gradient filter tool again, and this time go from the bottom up. I'm putting a little bit of the greenness back in the water because the water actually was really green when I was there, but I got lost in a lot of these highlights. Okay. And those are just some small alterations. I want to go into split toning and show you how to use that. And for my highlights, I'd like to choose more of a peachy color. So this is about 37, and then I like to go in and just lower the saturation, so it's very subtle. And for my shadows, I'll pick something very light blue. It's about 215. And you can see if I toggle it on and off that it's a very subtle difference, but it creates a warm glow. Next, I'll be going into my brush tool and double click effect to reset everything. And let's see, and then press O and you'll get a mask that comes up. So my flow is all the way down. I want to bring it up just a little bit more. More than that, that's slow. And I'm going to select the water. This is where I get a little Bob Ross. This is so relaxing. Let's paint around this happy little tree. Nobody's going to judge you. You can use your left and right bracket tools to make your brush bigger or smaller. If you mess up, that's fine. That's what your erase tool is for. Okay, so you can see it's a little bit sloppy, so I'll go into my erase tool and I'll just erase where I don't want it highlighted. You should probably be a little neater than me. You don't want to be like me, kid. I'm a loose cannon. Okay. That seems fine. So press O and make the mask go away, and then I will be bringing up the saturation just a little. We don't want things to get crazy. And bringing the tint towards the green side again. And then if you hover and use your up and down arrows, it will just do it in increments of 1 this time. So, I'm gonna say 8 is good. I think that's somewhat natural. You can do the same thing with your sky. So you could make a new adjustment brush, and let's press O and select the sky. Okay, and then you can bring up your highlights, bring down your shadows a little bit, bring your saturation up, and you can drop it a little towards the blue side. Also a little bit towards the magenta side. Not too much, because you could see that I kind of blended it into the sky, so you don't want there to be a really severe contrast. That looks too magenta to me. I'll bring it back. Okay, so let's see the before and after. And I would go in and tweak it. There's some things that are a little bit overdone. I think the trees look maybe a little bit too green. But now you have all of the techniques and you can make it look the way you like it. You could not bring out in the shadows so much, not bring up the highlights so much, and that will give it a less HDR-ish look. You could dial back the sharpening, which will also make it look more natural. You can use these same techniques and get a natural look or a more surreal look like this.